Good day everyone. Today we're talking about this guy right here. Before I get started, for those of you who watch my channel, you know I'm a big fan of titanium gear. Lightweight, versatile, really durable. With that being said, there are several companies that make titanium gear. They all make, your typical pots, your utensils, your cups, all those kinds of things. Within those companies, they all have their unique pieces. So today we're talking about Keith Titanium's pressure cooker. As for the bottom section of the pot, you have two pieces, the inner and the outer. You can actually cook a base, something like a rice in this guy, put it aside, cook the rest of your meal in here. Also has pretty nice handle, pretty sturdy. As for the inner pot, there are markings to measure out rice, anywhere between 300 grams and 600 grams. There are holes along the top and along the sides to help circulation during the cooking process. There's also a removable gasket that you can take, remove, clean, put back on the pot. Now for the lid. Sorry, some snow fell off of a tree on me just now. But probably the most important part of this whole setup, first of all, nice sturdy handle, folds down, does not interfere with the valve. Now that's really important. It's a small detail, it's something's overlooked, but I think it's really important that they just made that fit. It's also really sturdy, like I said. First thing here, pressure relief valve. This screws and unscrews, and this helps regulate the pressure during the cooking process. As for the pressure relief valve, you can unscrew this, you can take it apart, you can clean it, which is really recommended. I recommend doing it after every trip. Now, if you're out for an extended period of time, maybe consider doing it every few days or every few meals. They were nice enough to include a little brush with that to help clean it. Now, the reason why I recommend doing it after every trip when you're at home is if you do drop some small pieces in there, there's a spring and a little valve, I believe. If you do drop that, it may be hard to find. I don't know how easily you can replace this. I don't know if you can replace it. That's why I recommend doing it at home. If you're somewhere out, just make sure you're in an area. If you drop it, you can always pick it up. They're also nice enough to supply us with 2 extra valves, which leads me to my next point. Now on to the pressure release valve. Not to be confused with the pressure relief valve. This one's job is to release pressure in case the relief valve is either closed, blocked, clogged. Whatever reason this is not working, this one will release pressure. Third is the safety valve, arguably the most important valve out of all three of them. Most pressurized systems have a safety valve that are set to a certain pressure point and will release pressure if it ever gets there. So in case both other valves are not working, they're blocked, they're defective, whatever's happening, this will let you know, this will release the pressure, keep it safe. I may have already mentioned the handles, but it's just a nice detail to see that even when it's fully installed and assembled, the handles fold down nicely, they don't interfere with each other, and they don't interfere with the valves. Small detail, but really important in my opinion. One quick safety reminder, guys. This is a pressure cooker. It is under pressure. Please do not open the lid if this thing is still under pressure. Make sure this valve is open. Make sure there is no more steam coming out. As long as there's steam coming out, there's pressure, and that will lead to a bad time. So please don't do it. It will not end well for anyone. If you came here for a demo on how to use this, I apologize, guys. I've been looking for a reason to do a one-pot backpacking meal series, and I think this is the perfect pot to use for that. So I will be doing separate videos on some different meals with this, but I will give a rough instructions on how to use this. Basically, the pot here, add about 200 to 230 milligrams of water. Depending how much rice or whatever you plan on making in this, add that into the inner pot. Add this in, and then you just want to add enough water. Again, depending on what you're cooking, there's so many recipes you can do with this that it really does go recipe by recipe. But basically, add your ingredients, add your water, put it inside, add the lid, set your burner, cook it for, again, how many minutes? It really depends what you're cooking, which is why I'll do separate recipes with this, but I think it's a great thing for a one-pot meal. As for what heat sources to use this, Keith Titanium basically says you can use everything. So any kind of burner, propane burner, isobutane burner, camp stove, stovetop, barbecue. They even say open flame, which I'm kind of hesitant about because of the silicone or rubber gasket. I'm not sure what material it is, but I do believe it's heat resistant. I don't know how flame resistant it is. So if you do have a fire, maybe keep the flame lower. If you have a bed of coals, that's fair game. Just rest it on the coals and that will work perfectly. As for an open flame, I'm a bit hesitant. I do like to sort of just set my pot right in the middle of the fire, so I might not do that. But you can basically use titanium on anything, guys. When I lose power at my house, I put these things on my barbecue and make coffee, I make tea, I make a meal. They really are great. Last but not least, if you do any backpacking like me, you like to maximize space. So this is a lot of dead space in here. I want to give a few examples of what you can fit in here, what I plan on fitting in here. 450 gram canister. Now, I personally do not use these. I find them way too big. If you're gone for a few weeks, this is probably a good option. If you're gone for 1 or 2 nights, this is overkill. This will probably last you a year. But it does fit perfectly inside this pot. As you can see, you have about, you don't have much space to spare, I'll be honest about that. But it does fit pretty perfectly. I do suggest putting it in a stuff sack or putting a paper towel or a rag around it just to avoid that noise, that rattle as you backpack. Now if a 450 is too much, a 230 fits pretty well. If it's about 60% of the way up, you can still throw in a burner, throw in a folding utensil, throw in a few accessories for your cook set. This is actually a pretty good option as well. I don't plan on using either the 230 or the 450. Personally, I go out for 1 or 2 days. I like to carry a 100-gram canister in this 700 pot. The 700 is my go-to pot. I can cook a meal in there, coffee, have a beer in there. It's the most versatile and is my favorite pot. And this will most likely be my go-to backpacking set for this upcoming summer or the next few trips. This fits in there really nicely. As I said, put it in a stuff sack. Same with those canisters. It will reduce the noise to some extent. But this will most likely be the kit I use on my next few trips. One quick thing I have to mention is this is a 750 milliliter pot without a bail handle. I do have a model with a bail handle and it does not fit. So please do your own research. Whichever way you plan on filling this and carrying it, definitely use that space. Sometimes I put my food ingredients there, my cooking ingredients. If it spills, if it pours out, whatever happens, at least it's contained in a pot. And however you plan on using this, guys, definitely use that space. Hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, comments, or insults, feel free to put them down in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.